There goes. See the little timer pop up?
Yeah.
So now we are live. Casper, where are you? Casper. Come in.
Best day ever. How do I get
Best
to you,
day.
Dad?
Yeah, right.
How can I get past this big guy in between
Come over
us?
here, Casper. There you go. Come here. Attaboy. Attaboy. All the way up. They want to see you. There you go.
Look at the camera.
There you go. There's his people right there. There's his people. Good morning. Good morning. Let me know where you are. Let me know that you can hear us. We're going to go live with Coffee with Casper in 3 minutes. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're up. Good deal. Let me know where you're checking in from. Here's Casper. This is my good friend, the Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon. We'll get more formal with that in a second. It's Coffee with Casper and Ken this morning.
Woohoo!
We're glad you're here. Good morning, Candace from Palm Desert. Ken and his beautiful bride, Dr. Deb, just came from Palm Desert.
It was hot.
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 Good morning, Missy Grant from North Carolina. Nice to see you this morning. Good morning, good morning. Everybody's checking in. We got North Carolina. We got Southern California. We got the desert. We got it happening. This is going to be an exciting morning, and we're going to proceed to a higher vibration. So we're going to gong ourselves in. Good morning, Mark and Kai from Atascadero. Nice to see you, young people. And the grandpa and his son and the beautiful granddaughter up there. You guys are doing great in the Central Coast zone. All righty. Well, there's Tricia Klink. The Reverend Tricia Klink is checking in from Moore Park. There we go. It's a beautiful day here. A little cool, but nonetheless pretty. And we're going to gong ourselves in about 2 minutes. And then we're going to just spend our 20 minutes together looking about what we might do and how we might do it in terms of seeing through the mist into the deeper reality of whatever parts of eternal verities you choose to participate in. Personally, I like love, joy, peace, freedom, happiness, poise, power, grace. I like those ones. You get to choose, though. Everybody gets to choose. Good morning, good morning. All right, we're going to gong ourselves in 1 minute. Coffee is here. Casper is here. Ken is here. And away we go. We have solved the technical problems. Can everybody hear us? Oh, there's Deborah Gordon. The Reverend Dr. Deborah and Reverend Deb Gordon is right there. Look at that. What a kingdom. What a kingdom. All righty. All right, everybody get ready. We're going to take a deep breath. We're connecting a lot of light workers. You're very important in the world right now because it is people who know who they are, that know there is an I am presence that is gazing at the glory, and that we should be paying attention to that glory rather than being caught up in the confusion of the world, right? All right, so everybody going to take a big, deep breath in. We're going to let out the sound awe and then relax our shoulders. And we're going to do it twice. And then, and remember, the gong is just a symbol of the law of the circle or the law of mind, which means what's coming from me is returning to me. As our friend Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones says, I am the cause to my own effect. All right, here we go. Big, deep. Hey, Arlen from San Clemente. Nice to see you this morning. Okay, big, deep breath in. Relax in the shoulders. One more time. This time, allow the deep breath to come all the way down into your belly. And now bring that energy up into your heart center. And now what we are doing is hanging out with like-minded souls, people vibrating, sending out a tone from the total of their consciousness, that which is conscious and unconscious, creating the multidimensional aspects of our experience returning to us. The energy coming from us returns to us and creates our experience. Now we're part of the whole. So with that, what we use in the terms we would use for that is race mind. And the race mind is not entirely awake. We are here gathering people who know there is a power for good in the universe and you can use it. And we are beginning to apply it in new ways in our own lives. So that as our cup is overflowing, then then we can share that with the world, and in that way we're making a giant contribution as light workers in the world. So I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here. And now we're going to let Dr. Ken ride with this. So the real question here, so this is the Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, the former spiritual leader of Religious Science International for many years, and then he was the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living when a decade ago it transferred into a unified group. And he served 2 full terms, and you can't do any more than that. And now he's just a wisdom teacher in the world, which is what we all are. When we have gotten to a place where we know we belong to the one, we're looking all the time for a higher order of service. So the question then, Dr. Ken, is how are you doing it, and how would you support other people in not being confused by all the confusion in the world?
Spiritual practice, obviously. I love that, the circle and coming back in again. And I couldn't help but think when I was doing it of all the trips, falls, and snags that I've had in my experience, where I believe what you say is true, of course, which is that energy that I center myself in becomes my reality and becomes the effect of my life. And so I think of all the times that reality and that energy has been less than optimum. It's like walking down the street and seeing somebody, and if you have a nasty thought about them, you might ask yourself the question, is that my prayer? Is that what I want to pray for that person or for myself? And 99.9% of the time, in my experience, I'm certainly not giving it to you, it's no. So to try to live in that zone where you are actually in alignment with what you want, with how you think and how you feel.
Right. So you have to. So that was the Mary Baker Eddy line, right? Stand toward the door of thought.
Yeah.
You have to be aware of what's going through your consciousness, right?
Exactly. And you have not only aware of it, but you have to be willing to change it and to transform it and to recognize that no matter what kind of a snit you might find yourself in, that snit is doing you more harm than it is doing you any good. And so to answer your question is that when I'm aware, what I can do is I can transform and change my thinking. And I do that through the realization that my every thought's a prayer. Everything I think. If I'm sitting there talking about politics, or if I'm talking about illness, or if I'm talking about poverty, or if I'm mad at something or something that's going on in the world, I have to ask myself the question, would I put that into prayer to manifest it in my experience? And unfortunately, a lot of the time the answer is no. And so to bring myself back into alignment with what I want or what I would have the world experience, as opposed to the neuroses that I'm displaying and playing out in the world around me.
Yeah, I saw a meme. We would say hi to Carol. How nice to see you, Carol. And aloha from Hawaii. Good to see you, Ann. And good morning, Donna. Nice to see you this morning. Daz Dazzler is here. We got some light workers gathering as we're talking with the Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon about how to really work on yourself so that the tone, the vibration of your total consciousness is reflecting in what you were just talking about, what you mean.
Yeah.
As opposed to just being bumped around by the currents of the race mind.
Or getting trapped in what Miguel Ruiz calls the mitote of life, the fog of life, so that you're blind, like the story that you did last week.
Yeah, right.
A couple weeks ago when you were in your sailboat. To recognize that fog is something that you can dissipate, you can see through, you can understand, but it all begins within yourself. It doesn't happen outside, it happens inside.
There was Maya Angelou has a great quote, a very simple one. He says, "The rain always ends."
Yeah. Yeah. Walter Drew once told me we all make it to the end.
We all make it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. If you're able to, Alfred Lord Tennyson's line, who was the medieval poet from the UK. He says, anchor yourself on the infinite. On that you can rely. If you try to anchor yourself on the material world, it's moving all the time
and transforming.
Yeah.
And changing, not always for the good.
Not always. That's right. And so and what I often say about boats is people look at harbors and see all those boats floating, and they think the boats are just floating. Well, no, the boats are sitting on salt water. They're disintegrating. The salt water is eating them up, right? So
Yeah.
that's a form, right? And so unless you add energy into it to keep it healthy, it's going to deteriorate, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens if you get into the race mind and stay there. You're not going to stay strong, and you're not going to stay clear.
And actually, that's a perfect analogy. I love that. And the same thing goes as us as individuals or as people. The universe operates that way. You know, if you take a bolt and you wind it right out and you put it on your windowsill and you leave it for a period of time, what you'll find is the bolt actually sinks back down and tightens itself without you ever having to touch it, just by the nature of the universe around it and the movement of life itself. And if you take a look at it, if you live in that consciousness of detritus, what occurs is it's like the bolt. You spend enough time there, it just tightens, or like the boat, disintegrates.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's why, so here's a real simple thing. I read newspapers because I need to be informed, because I'm talking to light workers and trying to help everybody keep their vibrations high and not to pay attention to all of the details in the world. So one of the first things you can do if you're getting stressed out by what's happening in the world is don't look at it so much, right? I mean, right now behind us, you can hear the birds singing and the trees blossoming and the flowers happening. I mean, life is happening even while your attention has gone to some place that's bumming you out.
Exactly.
Right? So that's where you have to use the power of your own choice, right?
Yeah, and you have to make your own pathway for it. You know, spending the evening last night with you and Casper and Dorinda and Deb, you give the line about Casper, this is the best day ever. You know, just popping around, so excited. Doesn't remember the bulldog you told me that beat him up. Doesn't, you know, this is the best day ever.
Right.
There's so much beautiful stuff that's going all around us all the time. We have that tendency as human beings to fixate on something that isn't working for us and not see the good stuff that's all around. And it's easy if you start looking at the good stuff and spend, and you know what? I don't think that it's helpful if you can spend all your time there, but I don't think that that's really required. I think that if you spend more time in the goodness and less time in the negativity, what happens is the goodness will begin to expand in your life. Therefore, ergo, you spend more time in the goodness and more time in the goodness. And instead of that disintegration that you're talking about of the boat in the water, what happens is you begin to expand your view of the greatness of life as opposed to limit it and narrow it as to the detriment and the bad.
And I think you just touched on, that's what the law of attraction is, right? Mm-hmm. That if you get your consciousness going forward, I mean, in this case, we're talking in an affirmative way, mm-hmm. right? All you need to do is get to that 51%, right? Because I'm just 1% over half confused, that will take that momentum, will begin to create a law of attraction, and on its own, that 51% will begin to grow into a higher number, right? Because that's what the universe does. Where your attention goes, your energy flows, right?
Yep.
So if you can get at 51% of remembering you belong to the one, remembering that the glory of the Most High is yours to experience, remembering that joy is, as Tehillah Darjan said, joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God, right? We begin to move in that direction, and then the law of the circle, of the law of mind, will work for you automatically.
Yes.
If you get there, right?
Well, and not if you get there is almost, I'm not sure that that's the right statement, because you're already there. What you're awakening is where you're at. And that expansion to get there, you're right, it's exponential. It begins to grow and expand and traverse. And it requires the discipline to do it as a mental exercise. You know, nobody here, I don't believes that if they want to lose weight, that all they have to do is close their eyes and think about it and the weight will fall off of them. You know that you have to do something to make it happen. Well, it's the same thing with consciousness. it probably won't happen overnight. Now, it could. There's divine intervention. There's all kinds of things that can happen. So I don't want to negate that. But what I do want to say is my experience is if I spend more time in the goodness, I can get to a better place in my life. Now, that doesn't mean that it happens instantaneously, because it's a practice. And you need to practice it to keep expanding it and keep it moving in the direction of where you want to go. And so, just like you would go to a gym and work out, it probably behooves us to spend a little bit of time on our mental consciousness and set aside a period of time every day, or at least put it into your practice to have that discipline, to be able to operate and work on it on a regular basis. So what you can do is you can expand the goodness in your life. So what I would suggest is, it's such a good suggestion, I'm probably going to start to do it, is to set aside a couple hours every day where I refuse to read the newspaper, watch the news, or listen to the horror that I might find on the outside world, and instead fixate on finding the things in my life that are beautiful and joyous.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that happens now because of the internet and the telephones and the things, I mean, I saw a meme that says, what beautiful place should we go to that we can all stare at our phones together? Right. And I found myself, my wife and I were in February down in Puerto Vallarta, sitting on a beautiful beach, you know, in luxury and beauty. And I had to tell myself time and time again, put the phone down. Don't look at it. Stop it. Look where you traveled all the way here to Mexico to be in the tropics and enjoy it, and you're staring in the phone,
which you could
looking at life's problems. I could be at home doing that, right? You could be on the train doing that. I mean, it's a thing now. You just have to be mindful of what you're doing with your conscious attention, I think.
I think so.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are. Good morning from Northern Cal, Julie. Nice to see you. Carol, nice to have you. We got some great consciousness. I'm Harry Morgan Moses. You're here with the Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, and we are just gathering in a vibrational pool of those people, all of us here, who are awakening in a greater way every day to the I am consciousness. We always talk about that Meister Eckhart idea that the soul has two faces. One is gazing at the glory of God, and the other is directing the senses. And I'm always asking myself, what is high self, my beloved, in whom I live and move and have my being, what are you looking at? What are you looking at as you're gazing at the deeper dimensions that my personal self doesn't yet understand? But that's the ask, seek, and knock, right? Mm-hmm. I want to know what that glory is. And that's what happened to Emerson when he was walking across the commons, right? And he fell into illumination. You can't order that. You can't order a spontaneous illumination, but you can create the conditions.
That's right. And you can practice it. And you can, and whatever it is for you is for you. And you can make that so. So, when we talk about mental discipline, to be able to have the discipline to be able to train your mind, that's what I was trying to say, is we can't expect instantaneous results all the time, but we know that if we continue to work at it, it's going to continue to expand in our life. And you know what? We have nothing better to do than live in joy. That's the truth. And so we might as well concentrate on that. Look at that tree behind us. I mean,
it's all, and it's just a matter where you are. It's there.
Yeah.
If you open your eye, the bird just chimed in. If you open your eyes to the presence and begin to invite it, it comes in a bigger way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the practice. That's what you talk about all the time, is that you need a spiritual practice. You need to use it on a regular basis. You need to treat and you need to meditate every single day to bring yourself into that reality. And the thing is that doesn't mean that consumes your life. But if that's the foundation of your life, that foundation becomes something you can stand on, and something that gives you, that empowers you and keeps you from disintegrating and keeps you healthy.
That's
and whole.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
You have to move against the entropy. I mean, you have to decide. You and I have been around a couple of days, right? And aging
Do you
happens.
think so? Look
Yeah.
at us. We're almost like twins. Have you noticed that?
Aging happens, right? So you have to affirm that you're healthy and strong. You have to affirm that you're young and vibrant and capable. You have to affirm that you're excited about living. If you don't, you're letting the race mind saying, "Oh, well, you're getting old and this bad stuff is happening, and oh, look at the world," right? You're going to get inundated. You have to do something about the ignorance of the race mind,
Yeah.
right? If you know something, then you have to practice what you know. That's the old joke, right? How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
You practice, practice, practice. and the practice, though, it's not just, you're not just dealing with the collective consciousness of humanity. You start within your own consciousness, and you begin to make the differences within your own way of thinking, your own way of living, and practicing for yourself. The outer effect will change as the inner effect becomes more aware of what's going on, and that's the practice.
Yay.
Deb showed me a meme the other day, and there was about 7 things. It's how do you know you're getting old? And one of them was you have a spatula of your own, which means that you've got something that you hold on to all the time. And the other one is everything annoys you. And when I read that, I looked at it and I thought, God, there's some truth in that. I've got to get rid of that
That's
annoyance.
Right. That's the entropy. I'm saying you have to resist that. You got to go against that, right? Exactly.
But I'm keeping the spatula.
All right, I'm Harry Morgan Moses. This is the Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon. We're about the end of our 20 minutes together.
Holy cow.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with another version of Coffee with Casper. It's interesting. Ken and I are longtime friends, and we've been hanging out, and Casper is calmed down. He's laying by our feet here going, this is a nice vibe. Well, we're glad you've been here to be part of this nice vibe. If you found anything beautiful in this 20 minutes, share the video. You have groups that you belong to. You belong on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever your groups are. Share it in the group. Say, this was a great 20 minutes. See if it empowers you. Share it with your friends. That's all we ask you to do. And we'll be back, gathering all of us together. We thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing the video. And we know during the course of the week, we've had people from all over the country and all over the world already with us this morning. And we know more and more people are touching it, getting a hold of that vibration, and then allowing that vibration to support them in bringing your unique light into the world. So we're just reminding you in this moment that who you are is something magnificent. What you are doing by paying attention to your spiritual nature and seeking, as Dr. Ken said, to bring joy into your life at a deeper level. That's our practice the next couple of weeks. Let's bring joy, deep joy, into our life in a more meaningful way as we practice bringing our unique light into the world. And so I remind you, who you are is something magnificent. And until we meet again, we invite you to go in the light, as the light, and with the light. May the long-time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide you on your way. Bye for now. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
This is the best day ever.
Best day ever. Bye for now. Lots of love.
The best day ever, right? Yeah.